Good morning and welcome to Wellspring. My name is Judy Bethman and I'm part of your Sunday celebration team for July 11th, 2021. We now have a few announcements. Early birds meet Sunday morning at 9:30 via Zoom. The link is on our weekly email and on the website. Upcoming speakers for July, Edward is going to speak next Sunday and Kamatara will be for the last Sunday of July. Dowsing class taught by Jeannie Geringer will be Saturday, July 17th here at Wellspring from 1:30 to 4:30. She says that, quote, dowsing is more than finding water. It is your connection to your higher self, to source. End quote. The cost is $25. And lastly, our prayer team remains ready to serve and support you. You may submit a request via our webpage, or you may contact Martha Ward or Geneva Collins with your request. Our prayer team meets virtually on Tuesday afternoons at 4:15 to pray with you. You may consider sitting in your quiet space during that time. We know we are one in spirit, and the energy of prayer knows no limits. Okay, now for the invocation. Let's everybody take a deep breath in and release. I now honor and embrace and adore the living spirit within me that is my life, my good, and my intimate oneness with the divinity in everyone. Love, peace, and abundant life is the energy and nature of that great spirit incarnated in each of us. I now open myself to receive all the goodness that I already am, with deep gratitude for all that is. And so it is. Okay, stand if you are able, and we're going to sing Our Thoughts, Our Prayers. Our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Take charge of what you're saying. Take by your consciousness a state of peacefulness, and know that God is always there. And every thought becomes a prayer. Think thoughts that soar, put wings on your tomorrows. Think thoughts that soar, that lift you from your sorrows. Claim a higher point of view, a place both bold and new, and know that spirit sees you through. And every dream you dream comes true. Our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Take charge of what you're saying. Seek a higher consciousness, a state of peacefulness, and know that God is always there. And every thought becomes a prayer. Thank you, everyone. You may be seated. Let us read together our vision, mission, and affirmation. Our vision: to elevate spiritual consciousness in our world. Our mission: to support individual spiritual quests through celebration, study, counsel, loving fellowship, and service. Our affirmation: I am at peace within myself and within my world. I am grateful for perfect health and overflowing abundance in my life. I know I am loved and supported in every way and at all times. I create joy in my life and share it with everyone I meet. All right, we have our first guest. So you want to come and introduce him, please, Barry?
I would love to, if I can turn this. Is this on? Okay, great. So a few years ago, I was invited to a senior recital at New Mexico State University. 3 years ago? Probably 3. Whenever you graduated, I can't remember. Anyway, and I heard this soloist, and I thought, wow. So after the recital, I went back and I introduced myself. I said, can I play piano for you sometime? And we've been playing for 3 years now, I think. So this is my good friend now, Max Contreras. Excellent baritone, but you'll hear it. And we've decided to perform a song today called Love Is My Decision. Okay. Oh, now we can hear you.
All right, now. Is the mic not on? Oh, it's on, yes. Love is my decision. It's up to me to give of my heart. Love is my decision. No one else can tell me to start. And if I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision right here and now. Love is my decision. It's up to me to stand on that bridge. Love is my decision. No one else can make me forgive. And if I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision, right here and now, right here and now. I know it's done. The life that I've dreamed of has finally begun. And sure as the sun shines down on me, I am the one to set myself free. Love is my decision. It's up to me to dance down the road. Love is my decision. No one else can lighten my load. And if I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision right here and now. Love is my decision. It's up to me to dance down that road. Love is my decision. No one else can lighten my load. And if I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love, it's my decision, right here and now. My decision, right here and now.
Thank you, Max and Barry. That was lovely. And we're happy to have you, our go-to soloist. Well, I was going to have a different reading, but after that, I think maybe I should do one on love, huh? I'm in the Science of Mind book, and let's see. Is handy. 478. There we go. This is from the book of John 13, 34 and 35. Love is the central flame of the universe, nay, the very fire itself. It is written that God is love, and that we are his express likeness, the image of the eternal being. Love is self-givingness through creation, the impartation of the divine through the human. Love is an essence, an atmosphere, which defies analysis, as does life itself. It is that which is and cannot be explained. It is common to all people, to all animal life, and evident in the response of plants to those who love them. Love reigns supreme over all. The essence of love, while elusive, pervades everything, fires the heart, stimulates the emotions, renews the soul, and proclaims the spirit. Only love knows love, and love knows only love. Words cannot express its depths or meaning. A universal sense of alone bears witness to the divine fact. God is love, and love is God, and so it is. And now wearing her dreamsicle outfit, dreamsicle, I want to introduce Peggy Shinn. Thank you.
May I move this mic down some? I'll just move it around to the forward so I won't bang it. Anyway, when I first walked in today, Judy was saying something about my lime dress, and I said, oh, I didn't know it was quite that lime. I actually thought I'd kind of match the carpet. But at any rate, dreamsicle, we'll take that. I don't know if I can get these guys to all stand up here or not. But good morning. Good to be back at Wellspring. Hope you guys are doing well, and we're getting through another week behind us of Doñana County being open. Yeah, we can applaud that for sure. So My life in the last few weeks has been very hectic and very much on overwhelm. And as was being talked about earlier for those of you who are here to watch the video, well, the Zoom, I guess we call it, where Vicki is asking if I'm going to Mexico. I'm going back to Mexico in another couple of weeks or so, 11 days, 10 days, something like that, because we are having the Convention of the Americas live for a couple of days as a way of integrating within the live event. It's really the tail that's wagging the dog of the live event is the graduation of our first 11 ministers in the Spanish language. So it's been a long, hard journey, and I'm so proud of them and so glad I got to live to see it. I didn't think we'd get it done this quickly, but God is good always, as we're talking about. But we're having a virtual event that I'd like to invite all of you to be participants of. The live event is going to be filmed or recorded, not via Zoom, but by professional videographers. And we're going to integrate that into the program for the virtual event. So the virtual event is August 4, 5, and 6. If you put that on your calendar, it's a $50 ticket. This is my announcement to go with the earlier announcements that I didn't make earlier, but I'll make it now. For Kathy Ann Lewis, Edward Fields-Yoon, the International Spiritual Leader, Centers for Spiritual Living, who are going to be there, David Bruner, John Waterhouse. Any of you who've ever, been involved or inflicted by the Centers for Spiritual Living will recognize some of these names. Anyway, these are the rock stars of Science of Mind as far as we're concerned. They come from both the original Religious Science International and the Centers for and the Church's for Religious Science, which merged and became the Centers for Spiritual Living about 10 years ago now, something like that. So it'll be a great virtual event. We bring it sort of to you with a little Mexican fiesta aspect to it, and because we are going to be filming it live from Chapala, Jalisco, Mexico, we hope we'll bring some of that to you too. So if you want to be involved, I guess I could send to Brenda the flyer and the link for the online registration. So I hope I'll get that done, and if you don't see it show up, somebody like Judy will call me and say, Peggy, you forgot to do this. So thank you for all of that. So all this hecticness and this overwhelm and whatever, I've noticed, I pretty much usually mention that I just come to these places where I'm speaking to hear what I have to say because I need it. And so I choose things on that basis, and all the better if it works for you all too. So what I was noticing in the last couple of weeks is I've come up with this little mantra of mine that I probably ought to kind of lose it. But I say to myself, there's never a dull moment and there's never a spare moment either. And so that's gotten me on the idea of the moment, which I love the song that was chosen in making about the decision of love in this moment now, right now. So this is what I want to talk about, because we're kind of there too with this whole COVID thing and everything. We got a new day dawning. We got a new moment here. So the title of my talk today is The Moment is Opportunity. And what I want to talk with you all about is the opportunity that we have in the moment to be a higher level expression, to have a higher level experience of the divine. I have a concept of direct experience that I want to talk to you about a little bit today, and how the moment offers us the opportunity to have a direct experience of spirit. I'd like to open up with a reading, and isn't it wonderful, Judy, that I don't dictate what your reading needed to be, and you can just like on the fly go for this different thing. I thought that's wonderful. I love it. That's spirit in action. God's in charge. If we just allow that moment to be, and us to be in it, so that we can have that guidance and intuition click in, right? So this is a little book that you can see is well worn in my life, but this is a book out of the 12-step program that's produced by the Hazelden organization out of Minneapolis, Minnesota area. And the book is called Each Day, A New Beginning. So we're going to talk about new beginnings, but I got to put my glasses on. This is from August the 18th, if any of you have this book or want to get this book. And this reading is, each passing minute or moment is all that we are certain of having. The choice is ever present to relish the moment, reaping fully whatever its benefits, knowing that we are being given just what we need each day of our lives. We must not pass up what is offered to us today. Time accompanies us like a friend, though often a friend denied or ignored, and we can't recapture what was offered yesterday. It's gone. All that stands before us is the here and now. We can nurture the moment and know that the pain and the pleasures offered us with each moment are our friends, the teachers that our inner selves have been awaiting. And we can be mindful that this time, this combination of events and people will never come again. They are the gift of the present. We can be grateful for that. We miss the opportunities the day offers because we don't recognize the experiences as the lessons they may have been designed to be for the next stage of our personal development. The moment's offerings are just necessary and friendly to our spiritual growth, even though we don't always think so. So I want to open with that as a way of setting the scene for how important each moment is in our lives, whether we recognize that or not. And I had started thinking when I was, realizing, I've got this new mantra about never a dull moment and never a spare moment. The amount of conceptualization there is of the moment in our vernacular. It's like, take a moment, find a moment, wait a moment, have you got a moment, can I steal a moment from you? All of these phrases that we just sort of, toss around that are related to the moment that we may not, quite have the same concept that I'm wanting to offer us today. And then I was looking at the vernacular of spiritual movements, or the science of mind movement, religious science, whatever you are calling it. And we talk about the divine moment. We talk about mystical moments. We talk about the healing moment, or the teaching moment. And these are the ones that, of course, I want us to get a little bit more in touch with today, because the moment offers us that opportunity to express and experience both at the same time. What is the divine in the moment? What is the divine in us? What I like to say, or like to remind myself about the moment, is not to be looking for what's in the moment for me, what's in me for the moment. So that all of that divinity of the expression of my being willing to recognize it as it is, that it is holy, I can call it holy, I'm holy, we're all holy in it, and make that decision to choose the love, to not be caught up in some of the things that was maybe implied in Judy's reading about the other, letting go of some of that. So the expression of the moment, I have found myself in that expression of there's never a dull moment and never a spare moment. And so my time is obviously something I'm not treasuring quite at the right level when I think I'm saying, I don't have any time. Time is not a thing, really. It's all these concepts of moment we have and these phrases we say, kind of like treat moment or time like it was some kind of thing, some kind of entity that you could, grab hold of, or that you could lose a moment or gain a moment or whatever. I don't think that's the way it really works. So the now is the only place where we have a moment of creativity, where we can tap into that creation, the process of creation that we teach in religious science about, the sort of the seed soil plant kind of manifestation. That if we can't stay in the now and be in the moment, we've lost that opportunity. We've lost that opportunity for our expression and experience at a higher level, higher frequency of the divine, where we're stuck in the past, worrying about the future, what I call rehashing the past, rehearsing the future. It makes us unavailable for the moment. And I think that in reviewing my life in the last few months and looking at this concept of the time and the moment and the now, I recognized, oh boy, have I been off the rails in that respect. Because I've been too left brain. The scientists nowadays, the brain scientists now tell us that, we have these two sides of our brain that have this little crossover between the two sides. And the concept that I think is being put forth now that makes sense is to try to balance and create a more whole brain experience. But in our society, and me as an example of that society, I know I'm entirely too left brain. And the right brain is that place where that hookup with spirit is. That's the place where we kind of have compartmentalized our lives into, well, let's see, I've got about an hour in the morning of spiritual practice of prayer and meditation, and that's gonna do it for me, and that's gonna hook it up. And yet we let go of that right brain experience and step out into our left brain day. And what happened to the other 23 hours? Well, maybe we sleep 7 or 8 of them if we're lucky. But let's say you got 15 hours still of awakeness during the day. Are you awake for it? It's my perspective about it, and I think this was Ernest Holmes' way of being as well. It's the integration and understanding of experiencing the direct experience of God. Every place, every time, everything, with every person, sort of a deal. And I wanted to talk to you, as I said, about this concept of direct experience and what the opportunity in the moment is for the direct experience. And I want to tell you, I want to read you a little bit of a thing that Ernest had to say to kind of set that tone from the religious science perspective of what it is and why it is that we might want to have the direct experience. He said, it is through the teachings of the illumined. And in the paragraph above, he's talking about Jesus, Buddha, Plato, Socrates, Emerson. He's got a little laundry list, Walt Whitman, of the people that at the time that this book was written, he considered, and many others considered, to be illumined individuals, or to have been, I guess I should say. So he said, it is through the teachings of the illumined that the spiritual universe reveals itself to us, imparting to us what we know about God, what we directly experience ourselves, and what we believe others have experienced is really all we can ever know about God. So that's Ernest's take on the experience being had directly. It's not a concept that I hear talked about too often in religious science or in the science of mind. It's a concept that's come more from the Eastern teachings, like Hinduism and Buddhism, that is derived from Hinduism. And that the idea is that from Hinduism is that, you can have all the teachings, you can have gone to all the classes and sat at the feet of all the gurus, and you can know all the religious and sacred texts backwards and forwards and all that. But at the end of it, it doesn't really count much if you haven't reached a level of enlightenment that comes from your own personal direct experience. And that's what I want to invite us to consider, that every moment offers us the opportunity to have. If we step out in love, like these two guys have talked about in the song and in the reading this morning, if we step out in love and take the divine that is there as ours and the place of joy that we want to get to. So this right brain place is where the hookup to the spiritual is. And I think that's one of the ways we get there. But training myself, I don't know about you guys, but training myself to try to be there every moment and all the time, it's difficult, it's challenging. It sounds easy, but it's not. It's simple, sounds simple, but it's not easy, as we say in the 12-step program. So the opportunity for direct experiences that I want to talk to us about today are, the mystic moment that we talk about from science of mind or the religious science perspective or new thought perspective, the holy instant that we talk about from the Course in Miracles. I don't know how many of you maybe have some experience with the Course in Miracles. And then I want to talk a little bit about what Greg Braden has to say about the moment as a mirror, which is kind of a little bit more what was in Judy's reading about impartation from one to the other in interaction. So the the Hindu thing that I was talking about a minute ago that has more to do with this direct experience. I was reading in a book once by Gangaji. I don't know how many of y'all know about that book, but or her even. But Gangaji is a little Southern gal who grew up to be a Hindu guru. Who'd have thunk it, right? So, but she has a great deal of wisdom to offer, and the opportunities that she's gained in her own direct experience with life. And she talks about the things that we do in the moment when she has a satsang, and this book I was reading is where it's just a kind of Q&A, the questions that were asked of her at a satsang and the answers that she gave. And one of them that I was struck by that I thought was related to this particular talk is that someone had asked her about, not being able to overcome their feelings of grief or sadness. And her answer had to do with just be with it, just be in the direct experience of it, be in that moment when it arises for you, and not be, running some editing or some commentary in the left side of your brain about it, but sit with the right side of your brain of it and just be, just allow and be. And I looked at that when I first read that, and I thought, that is so profound for me, because I'm always looking to make the story, to explain it, or to explain it away. And it's been a challenge in my life to get over what I call, sitting on it as opposed to sitting with it, where I try to suppress or depress or repress a feeling that I don't want to have. And sadness, of course, is one of those that we don't like to, pick me for sadness. We're more interested in the more positive kinds of feelings. And yet they all serve. This is what I was reading about in here. The pain and the pleasures of the moment are all there to be our teachers, because there's been some divine intelligence in back of it all that has said, okay, you're up for this one. Here's the lesson. Here's the teacher. Here's the situation. Now, are you going to get it, or you wait for the cosmic 2x4 after 3 or 4 more times I give you the shot at it? That's the way I think a lot of it has gone in my life sometimes. But the holy instant of the Course in Miracles that I wanted to speak about is not exactly a moment in time so much as it is the flash of the reflection or the insight that we get, either in the moment that something occurred itself directly, or maybe as we're sort of reprocessing it in our thinking afterwards, and we get the aha, what I call the blinding flash of the obvious, hits us. And there is an opportunity in that moment, secondary to the first moment in which it might have occurred, in which we are able to embrace the divine of it. This is the kind of forgiveness process, right? When many times we are looking back on something and that rehashing of the past. And if we could change in our own thought process how the moment was perceived then, we can change how we perceive it now. And this is another thing that Gangaji talks about in this book I was referring to. The name of the book is As You Are That. That's the name of the book. She talks about changing, and people are saying, it's so hard to change, or try to change, or make the change happen, or what have you. And she says it's not about the energy being put behind changing as much as it is being put behind surrendering to the moment that we thought we would like to change. And we got focused on the effect rather than the cause. The cause is our absence of surrendering to the moment that we cannot control or have anything to do or say about, other than to relate to it in our own perception from a different perspective. It's not about, traveling the world to see new things. It's about getting a new pair of eyes and to see something at a different way than we have before is really where the challenge is. And then in the holy instant, in the Course in Miracles, and this is pretty much the same as in the 12-step program too, the whole concept of what is the holy instant is really based in this concept of changing your thinking to change your life, change your perception, change your interpretation of what happened or what is happening or what may happen, however it is that you're working through it. But the best part of it is right there in that instant moment that it's going down, because that's when you really have the creative force behind you to change something or to change that perception, to have a different reaction or different response than you might otherwise have had given your, your old self or your lower frequency self. Those are the things we want to move beyond, to try to get to ask ourselves, what is the meaning of this? What is this really all about? How is this teaching me? Rather than, you dirty, rotten SOB, you took this, and that's what we run this stuff through our brains all the time, right? And that's what's displacing our opportunity to be in the moment as a divine being. We're in this 3D world, and whether you consider it a human experience having a spiritual experience or a spiritual experience having a human one, either way, the crossover is there, and we're going to be faced with the opportunity in the moment every single moment of that 15 hours we're awake, and probably the other 6 or 7 we're sleeping, in addition to the one we may have compartmentalized to do our meditation and prayer in. And the real change is going to happen in our thought process as we surrender to it, as we allow it, as we get that decision to be love now. The decision to choose. I choose God. I choose the divine. I choose the divine interpretation of this, rather than mine. My best thinking got me here. So it's, as Dr. Phil would say, how's that working for you? What I want to do instead, if I could have a choice of whatever, and if we're operating out of this philosophy, the choice is God. The choice is the yes to spirit, to love, to the impartation of love as the particularization of spirit that I represent and that you and the others represent. So we can get to that mystic moment, which is more what Ernest Holmes talks about in this Science of Mind text, that we're taking from that holy instant the realization and the recognition that it's all God, that it feels like God, we see God, we believe God, we know that everything, every person, every place, every experience is of God. And that sounds good on the platitude level, but get down to the place where, well, I don't know about Hitler and the Jews. That seems like, what was God doing there? Taking a vacation or something. No, that isn't the case. It's sort of black and white in that regard as far as I'm concerned. It's either all God or it's not. And that part of it is a little tough to swallow sometimes in my own interpretation, in my own story of it. So it's like I've said any number of times here and other places where I've talked, everything that is an illusion. There is no reality other than the one I choose, or that I'm interpreting, or that I'm creating, or that I'm inventing, and that you are, and you are, and you are, and you are. We are all operating out of our own individual interpretation of the situation. So we're creating a story that's really an illusion. I mean, we're liars, We're lying to ourselves, we're lying to others about what is the reality when we don't recognize that there is no objective thing, that this is it and that's it, never the twain shall meet, don't argue with me, I know better, any of that kind of stuff. So when we're able to get above that and recognize that we are, as Ernest Holmes says, we are the cause of our lives, we are the cause of our experience, because we are the effect of our experience. So when you look at the cause and effect correlation, in that context, I think it moves you to a different place to recognize how responsible you are in your own world, in your own moment of life, to be the divine that you are. That's how we create the future out of today. I'll talk to you about that in a minute or two, too. So that's the God experience that we're opening up to. But sometimes we bring to that moment this other stuff, this pain of the past, fear of the future, rehashing, rehearsing, getting ourselves in our own way. And I think that Greg Braden has this to offer, that served me anyway in the concept of looking at it from the moment. And he calls the moment a mirror, that whatever is going on in this moment, that we are able to look at and recognize, we are able to see as a reflection or a mirror back to us of how we're operating in that moment, how we're treating things in that moment. Because it's sort of what Sandy Scott taught me. The people I see are the people I be. So whatever I'm bringing to that interchange, whatever I'm offering up in that moment that I'm hoping to take more from me to give to the moment than asking the moment to give to me, is a possibility of where we can take a look at how it's going down. So what he's saying is, if we're seeing in the mirror, we see our current patterns happening in the now. And it becomes our moment of opportunity. There's that word again, our moment of opportunity. And once recognized, we could actually see the pattern be healed in a heartbeat. Then that is the holy instant. When that healing happens and the healing moment occurs, it comes first at the causation level, at the higher mind level of recognizing and knowing, even if it's a physical healing, I'm not this illness, I'm not this cancer or whatever. When we are able to really release the physicality of all that and the fear, and that's one of the things that Greg says, is that generally speaking, behind all this, he says, once recognized, the pattern can be healed in a heartbeat, and it can happen that quickly. And to recognize the pattern is the clue as to the underlying source of what we see in the mirror. And most often to not, that source is some combination of universal fears. And he goes on to talk about what he considers to be the 3 universal fears. This book is called Walking Between the Worlds by Greg Braden. And it is about that sort of, human, spiritual, human, how do you spiritualize the material? How do you materialize the spiritual? Sort of kind of thing is what he's dealing with this book. I think I'll just throw it over there. I'm starting to get too many things stacked up here. So the mirror of the moment can provide us with the information that might help us move into the next moment after we've had that healing, after we've had that heartbeat healing or whatever. We're coming to the next moment as a different person, in a different identity, coming from a different place, hopefully coming from love, so that love can be the decision I make right here, right now, today. When you said the name of the song, Gary, I thought, love is my decision, and I'm thinking back to I've forgotten his first name, Ziggy, I think his name is Marley. The song is Love is My Religion. So it's love is my decision, love is my religion. I'm going to put those two together in my mind now. Thank you for that. And what a great bunch of lyrics and delivered wonderfully. Great delivery of your song there. So look forward to hearing more of that. So when we go back to that each day being a new day and hear about the pain and pleasure that shows up in the moment and the different things that we're looking at and what the teacher is there to teach us, and sit still long enough for it. This is what I see in myself. So I think it might be something one of the other 2 of you in the room might be a part of too, is that I don't sit still long enough. I get started off on telling my story and telling my lie, or whatever it is, and I don't think about getting a new lie. I just think about sticking with the same one. And my grandfather, I must have been like this as a young child, even like impulsive or whatever, because I remember my grandfather and my mom's side always telling me, stop to think, and you'll think to stop. Like how to get yourself into a still place, right? How to just sit down and shut up and feel whatever you're feeling, be whatever you're being in that moment, and not miss the opportunity. The other book I was talking about earlier with Ganga Ji, she says that actually that sitting around and thinking about things is a way of avoiding the direct experience, because we're too much, in our own way. I think I put this on top of my notes now. So the mystical moment is what I want to choose. What I want to choose to be in love in the moment, to choose to have that love of God that sees everything everywhere. I was not too long ago listening to a talk about more of a lecture in a way, about the new, well, it's not so new now, maybe a couple, 3 years ago at least, interpretation of the Aramaic version of the Lord's Prayer, where instead of the word "Our Father who art in heaven," they are now, with the new understandings of the Aramaic language, which had a great deal of vagary in it if you weren't in the context of the time that something was said, because it was pretty much a verbal language, that instead of "Our Father who art in heaven," it's "Our Father who art everywhere." So there is no spot where God is not. And I'd like to close by giving you some homework, perhaps, of aspiring to achieve this be in the moment. Ernest Holmes talks about how to build your tomorrow today. So that's how do you get the next 24 hours created differently than the 24 you're living right now, maybe. And he has this article that I was reading that's called "The Starting Point" is part of it, and I copied this out of it. It says, if we make every day a day of praise, of thanksgiving, where we are recognizing the bounty of the divine and the eternal goodness, and we live today as though God were the only presence and the only power, we would not have to worry about tomorrow. We're all human, we've all made mistakes, but the starting point for creating a better future for ourselves, can't read my own writing here. The starting point for creating a better future for ourselves is to deliberately free our minds of the mistakes of yesterday and the past, and to know that they need no longer be held against us, no longer be a liability. And so we must live each day as though it were complete in itself, and the moment as though it were complete in itself, I would add to that. And we have to live each moment as though all the joy of the universe that's available to us in this moment is in this moment. And as though all the joy that we might ever know, that we might ever expect to experience, were ours now, in this moment of opportunity. And so it is. Namaste. And I'll get down here. Oh, I do the treatment, don't I? Yeah, thank you. Judy saved me again. She looked up. She says, I'm not ready to get up there yet. Anyway, let's just relax and be still. Stop and think to stop. And breathe into the divinity that is in this moment right now, that we are sharing and experiencing and expressing the divine as us, through us, for us, around us. And knowing that that godness that is us, the I amness that is us, is so totally connected, so totally integrated with the divine of the spirit that we choose to call God. And in this holy instant, I pronounce us new. New in this moment to create a new future from this moment forward. Recognizing and understanding all of that divine bounty and eternal goodness that is ours and is us. When we choose, when we make the decision in the now to choose love, to be the love that is who we are in our true nature, and to recognize the love that is the true nature of all others, and of the intention of the universe for it to be for our good. We open ourselves up to the moment, to be available to the moment, to let go of the past, to not fear the future, to recognize that in this moment, right here, right now, where I am, where you are, with whom we are, how we are, will never come again. And we bless and forgive all of what the moment offers. And we choose the opportunity to have the experience, to feel the experience, to integrate the experience into our lives, into our future lives, from the perspective of love and the divine, embracing it, knowing it is what the knower within us has invited, has been awaiting to become our teacher for our highest good, and to be led in the direction of more of that, to be open at the top for the intuitive understandings that are ours to have if we will surrender to the moment, surrender to the what is of the moment, and find what I call the bless in the mess. Being available, being ready, being disposed to allow more of that joy in this moment that Ernest talked about, more of the recognition that the moment is so special, this could maybe be the best of the joy we'll ever have. And we seize the moment in one of those phrases about the moment. We seize the moment. We know it will never come again. And in great gratitude for this knowledge, for this philosophy, for the information that comes to us through it, that we accept and integrate into the experience of our lives. I let go of these words into the law, knowing that it is so as it's spoken. It is being revealed among us as we sit here in our chairs this very second. And every second of every moment adds to the joy, the grace, the bounty that we are and that is ours to have. And so it is. Amen. Now, I'll let you. Oh, it's them. Okay. I'll sit down. There'll never be another time. Yeah, I can't believe it. Yeah. Yep, that's right. God's in charge.
Spirit's in charge, right? Time in a bottle. Every moment is either an epiphany or a reincarnation. Wow, okay. As we receive our virtual and in-person gifts, we give great thanks for the offerings already given and those we will be receiving, because we know that giving and receiving are both part of the one flow. We bless these gifts and know that they are multiplied throughout our community. There are a number of folks who've contributed to the production of this service, and we are grateful for their service, and we thank you for joining us today. And lastly, stay around in the Zoom meeting after the service to visit or join us in the social hall. Please stand with me and read the benediction followed by our congregational song. Spirit in the midst of us is mighty. Joy, peace, and eternal life are our true nature and flow through us into the world. And so it is. Now there is peace on earth, and it has begun with me. Now there is peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as our center, united all are we. Now we walk with each other in perfect harmony. Peace has begun with me, and this is the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Now there is peace on earth, and it has begun with me. Thank you, everyone.